welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Buddy's Trolley Troubles, released in 1934. It's the 79th in the series and it's directed by Friz Freleng. Currently there's no official release, so I've Frankenstein together the best known print, which was a taping of a Nickelodeon show, and then I've just spliced my own intro and outro to it, but hopefully one day this will get restored as it's a pretty good one. In case you haven't seen it, can't share the full thing here on YouTube due to copyright, but essentially Buddy runs his own trolley car and he goes around, picks up various passengers, picks up Cookie eventually, and then in the end we see a villain and that's pretty much it. So not really much to it in terms of story, but thankfully the gags are pretty good. First you're going to see a re-edit of the original audio commentary that I did before I had to take that down, and then you'll hear some new thoughts from me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Comes across as a similar cartoon to an earlier Warner Brothers cartoon called Smile, Danya, Smile, which is one of my favourite Merry Melodies anyway. And here's a gag that's actually almost lifted from there, where it would be an advertisement coming to life. Look at that gag. So does that mean every morning he tears down the fence and then when he gets home he puts it back up? It's a bit bizarre. And having such a massive trolley in a small garage, yeah, that makes sense. Why not? Earlier, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoon called Trolley Troubles, and funnily enough, I believe Friz Freleng worked on that one as well with Walt Disney, and he was an animator at the time of making Smile, Danya, Smile, so there you go. That bouncing sequence right there just shows just how great Friz Freleng was at his musical timing. And here is a gag which you will see quite a lot of as we go through the Looney Tunes series, where pretty much anything you put a coin in, it's like a slot machine, an old style slot machine. And yes, we're going to have the fat joke. She just gets helped on board. You know, sure, she's a large lady, but we get her on there. And she miraculously disappears in the next shot. So I don't know how the scale works in this particular trolley, but there you go. Here's a gag that I thought was pretty amusing, that, you know, she's up there saying hi to him, and of course somehow his trolley's got this massive scissor lift ability. Everything's being held up, and the bad guy is actually looks a little different than the previous bad guys used in these Buddy shorts. I mean, similar, but just looks kind of different. But he doesn't make any sense, so I don't know about the LA transportation system, but I would assume that trams, or trolleys in this case, wouldn't be sharing tracks with trains. And what exactly is the power source this trolley's running on? It's got the extender up, but yeah, because this is the first thing that a escape convict's going to do, just hop on a trolley and steal it, and because that's not going to get any attention from anybody, is it? I don't know, if I was an escaped convict, you know, I'd lay low, but then again, you know, I guess he thinks Cookie's a dish. The most pointless track layout I've ever seen. We get our explosive ending here, which you'd think, well, wouldn't Buddy be worried about his trolley disappearing? He might lose his job, I don't know. So those are my original thoughts, and in rewatching this short for this review in a slightly better copy than I had at the time, my thoughts haven't changed too much on it. I still think this one is a nice little gem. It was a little weird in terms of how some of the gags are carried out and all that. But one thing I didn't mention though is that this was actually the final Buddy short directed by Friz Freleng, unless you count the boy in the short. Mr. and Mrs. is the name, if you count that as Buddy. Some do, some don't. But as far as the Looney Tunes Black and White series that starred Buddy at the time, this is the last one. Friz would now exclusively do Merry Melodies shorts, starting off with black and white ones, of course, and then once colour became available in terms of the 3-strip Technicolor, then Friz will direct those too, right up until leaving for MGM for a brief period of time. So, in terms of this short, I do want to put things into context, and it's kind of weird because where I live in Melbourne, there's so many trams around. It's basically part of the city, and it's very iconic. It really is. And it's also one of those things where we're so glad we didn't get rid of our tram network, unlike a lot of cities around the world, particularly Sydney. So take that, Sydney. Trolley cars, yeah, which are similar to trams. They were basically a staple of many cities across the world, and especially in the US, like in LA, for example, and it was infamously removed. And if you watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that's pretty much what happened. They were bought up and basically just taken away because of rising car ownership. Cars and freeways were seen as the way of the future, and as it turns out, it just creates more and more traffic, and it's way more efficient to have mass transportation systems within cities. Like in Japan is probably a great example of, you've seen all those crowded trains, yeah? Now imagine if all of the people in those trains were actually driving individual cars. So, there you go. But looking at the short itself, there were a few other things that I did miss. You saw the ad in the actual trolley car, and he basically spits into this spittoon which happens to be alive. Why doesn't this spittoon want to be spat at? I don't know, it's a really bizarre joke. But that tobacco company is a parody of the beech nut chewing tobacco. I couldn't find anything else, and I believe that's what it's referring to there. If I'm incorrect, definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you look very closely, and it's very blink and you miss. In fact, I think I missed it last time because of the actual quality of the file I used last time. But if you look, it says Strucky Likes, and that's a play on the Lucky Strike cigarettes that were pretty popular. And I even saw an ad campaign which says, and I'm kid you not, 20,679 physicians say Luckies are less irritating as it's toasted to protect your throat against irritation against cough. Yep. Yeah, these cigarette ads were around quite a bit, and they're so bizarre to look at today, given that cigarettes were seen as giving a lot of health benefits. But anyway, it's so bizarre. And another blink and you miss a moment, you see Cat's Beer, and there's also a sign above it. I can't read it. It's too blurry. Hopefully Restoration can clear that one up. But Cat's Beer appears to be a reference to Leon Schlesinger's brother-in-law, Ray Katz. But anyway, I can't think of any other reason why it'd be Cat's Beer. But anyway, now you hear a song that Buddy sings. He's so proud of his little trolley car, and I was looking it up, and it appears to be an original composition by Norman Spencer called I'm the Motorman on the Urban Line, and it's a nice little catchy tune. I quite like it. It's quite fun.
I carry them one, I carry them more, I carry them fat and I carry them tall. I make little money, but I have a lot of fun, and that's the reason that I'm on this run.
Now, some of the other gags, you see a sign saying Podunk, Podunk, and that's a interesting little term because it basically refers to a small imaginary town. It's like a small imaginary town that hasn't had the same progress as a lot of the other bigger cities or even the bigger towns, and it's like a insignificant, out of the way, and sometimes even completely fictitious town. That's as per the definition. So it's just interesting that they just randomly picked the name like Podunk. Yeah, we don't know what to call this place, so we'll just call it that. So why not? But some of the other gags are interesting, as is in a lot of cartoons. We get lucky number 13 on the trolley car, so it's pretty standard. Donald would be using that number quite a few times, and that's just across the board. It's just one of those things. And then we got the cat that's being used to ring the bell, which you never see again, by the way. So apparently this cat's just in one shot. Kind of over elaborate, wouldn't you say? But anyway, that's ridiculous. I did point out that fat joke, because why not? Haha, she's a bigger lady, so it's funny that she needs help to get on the trolley car. But anyway, I suppose that's funny. But anyway, but the scale is completely ridiculous. So when you see the far off shot, she's as big, and I don't mean that in the fat way, but she's as big as this trolley, or even bigger. It's like she's a giant in that shot. And then when we see the close-up shot, she's of the reasonable size. Very bizarre. And of course, yeah, she disappears as well. Much like that other guy that boards at the trolley car, he just seems to disappear as well. So when we get all this kidnapping and everything later on, he still seems to be around. We don't see him get off the trolley car, but anyway. But speaking of that guy, I do like the bouncing, as I mentioned in the commentary track, and that's to Turkey in the Straw, which is a wonderful little public domain tune that seems to be used in a lot of these earlier shorts, and most famously, it would feature in Steam Willie. And the cop, and I'm definitely kidding around here, but that cop, the way he talks to Buddy, kind of reminds me of the prototype Foghorn. Now, clearly, not prototype Foghorn, but it's just the whole, what's the matter? Why don't you say something? That kind of a gag. It just kind of reminds me of that. And yeah, he clearly abuses his power too by slapping Buddy. But then again, who doesn't want to slap Buddy around? And Cookie sure got down pretty fast from the building. But anyway, whatever. Don't want to overthink too much of this. And this sure gives us an extra treat because even the villain punches out Buddy. So we get 2 punches. So there you go. And as we get towards the end, we get some wonderful 3D type background animation for the chase scene, which is fantastic. And of course, we got a truck full of dynamite that just conveniently stops in the middle, just because the story needs it. Why not? Why not? And I just like his reaction when he's still trying to crank the car, because kids, the older vehicles still need to be cranked. So this person probably just didn't have the cash to upgrade his car to one with a key. There you go. And as we finish, I do have to wonder why the pigs are celebrating, but anyway, whatever. But this is one of those shorts that's, it's a nice little gem. Is it a masterpiece? No. Is it funny? Yeah, it's got some funny moments in there. And it's a shame that Frizz didn't make any more, because once he does the Merry Melodies, I do feel he does become a little bit too Disney-esque, like he becomes too safe, whereas here, he's still having a lot of fun, and he has this great timing as well. But anyway, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's a nice little buddy gem, and it's definitely one of the best of the 20 or so Buddy shorts that were made, because Buddy's a very bland character, as you all know by now, and the only way he can really work is by having the things that are surrounding Buddy be interesting. So in this case, yeah, it's all to do with the trolley car. So there you go. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.